Hey, what's going on guys? So in this episode we're going to be going through adding water and swimming elements. So to do this we're going to be setting up two different states for swimming and when we're on land. And then we're going to be setting it so that when you enter the water, we will enter the swim state, we'll be able to swim around, and then when you leave the water, you'll be set back to land state. We'll also be going through things like we'll add some oxygen elements. So let's get to it anyways. The first thing we want to do is we need to add some sprites. So we're going to insert new object, and we're going to add a water sprite. To do this, just select whatever colour you like, so just pick a nice water colour. And then what I'm also going to do is, we actually want to set the alpha down, so we want to set this to maybe 100. And I just quickly set up this page right here, this level, so just to better show the water. So now what I can do is, that was called sprite 12 I think. So drag this in, and I'm going to name this water. And then all you can do is you just need to drag this out, so something like this. And then straight away what we can do as well is we can add an effect. So we head over to the left and go to effects. And if you just search water, there's a pre-built water effect. And as you can see, it's got like an effect, but we can tweak this anyways. And so what we can do is, if we head over to the left, and we can see all the effects here, and we can just tweak these to make it a little less intense. So let's keep the speed at 10. We're going to set the X and Y to 0. We'll halve the intensity to about 1.5. Frequency, we want to reduce that as well, as it's too steep. So we'll set it to 2. We'll kind of flatten it off a little bit. Angle we can reduce to 5 maybe, or just keep it the same. The delta we can keep 20. And we're going to reduce the reflectivity a lot as well. Again, if you want to keep that, keep it how it is. But for this one, I'm going to set that to 20 as well. As you can see, it's still got a slight little water effect, and it moves, and it just makes it a lot less intense, and you can still see more what's going on. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to set up the two different states. So head over to your character. We're going to add an instance variable, and we want this to be so we'll call this state, and we want this to be a string. Now the initial value, so we can call that land. So now we've got a state here, and when you start the level, you'll automatically be on land at first. One more thing I'll quickly add as well is, just so I don't forget, is we can also add another effect to the character. So we head into effects, and we can add warp object. Now down the line, this is just going to make it so that once we enter the water, it will add a little slight warp effect to the character as well. So that can look really cool once you're in the water. We're going to set that to not enabled as well at first. And then we really want to reduce this, so we'll just set this to 0.5 on the X and Y. And then the rest we can just keep, we'll just set to 1. Okay, so head over to your event sheet. And now we're going to scroll to the bottom. We're going to create a new group. And we'll call this states. And now what we want to do is, so first thing we'll do is we'll just set how the character should react when it's in the different states. So what we'll do is we'll search character, we'll search compare variable, compare instance variable, and then we want to set state. So if they're equal to land, and we can just copy and paste this, and we'll set that to swim. So this is just setting up, so now we have two different states here. So when you're in the land state, or when you're in the swim state. And now when we're in the land state, we want to set it back to all the default properties we have when we're walking. So just to check this, we'll head back to the character. Oh, that's all messed up there, hasn't it? Right, disable that. So what we want to do is we just want to check here, and we can see we have our platform behaviors here. So we want to set all these to the default. What we'll do is we can just, if you keep it selected, we can just see all those here. And then we can head over here, and we'll go character, search speed, we'll set max speed. And so right here, just set all these values to what you see there. Okay, so once you've done that, let's do the swim states. Now what we can do is we can just copy all of these, paste them in, and what we're going to do is, so for the swim, we want to reduce the speed, so we'll set it to 150. We'll reduce the acceleration to 400, same for the deceleration. And then we'll just set the max fall speed to 300, like this. And then we also want to disable double jump. Okay, nice, so once we've done this, we can add a new group. We'll add a group, and we'll call this is swimming. And this is where we'll set all the properties for once you're actually swimming. So to do this, we'll do character is overlapping. And then we're going to select the water. So when our characters overlap in the water, we then want to set the different actions of how that's going to work. So the first thing we want to do is we want to set it to the new state we've created. So we'll go character, set variable, or set value, and then we want to set the value of the state string, and we want to set that to swim. And then just to get this ready to go, so what we also want to do is we want to add an else, and then here we want to just copy this and paste here, and we want to set this to land instead of swim. So now when our character's in the water, it will set to swim, else if it's not in the water, it will set it back to land. Alright guys, now one thing we need to just quickly add is we need to head back to the character, and we need to add an additional variable. And now for this we need to create an additional way for setting the jump value. So we're going to call this jump and just set it to a number. And so we're going to use this value instead of the default jump variable of the platformer. Okay, so then head back to your event sheet, and we're just going to, in these two different states, we're now going to get our character, and we're going to set the value of the new jump value, the jump variable we just created. And now I want to set this value to, so we're doing minus, so we're going to increase the height, so we're going to go minus 750 for this. And then we can just paste this into the swim one as well, except for swim we want to reduce this, so for this maybe let's set it to minus 500. Okay, so now we've set the jump variable up, we can head back to the swimming, and we can say search, so we can say keyboard, on key pressed, and we're going to set it so that on the space key pressed, we want to trigger the jump, but we want to set that to the variable. So on key press, we want to character, set vector y, and we want to set the y value to character dot jump. So now every time we so when we're swimming, when we press the space key, it's going to set the y value to the variable depending on which state they're in. We can just select this and just drag this under our character here. Let's test this anyways. So as you can see, we're now in the water, we're moving much slower, and we can keep pressing the spacebar to keep controlling how high up we jump. Now another thing you could add to that is you could also add an animation, so with whatever character you're using, or whether you're using this one, is you could also then add a swim state. So all you'd have to do is, so I need to make an animation first actually, so what we'll do is just add an animation. Actually, I'll delete this for now, and I'm just gonna, I'll duplicate the idle one. We'll rename this to swim. I'm going to delete all the additional frames, because for now this is just an example. So in your project, you'll want to create your own actual swim animation. But anyways, for this what I'll do is we can just select this rotation tool here, and we'll just make it so that for now, it'll just rotate just so you can see that it's swimming. We can head back to the event sheet, and now what we can do is, so in the side of the state equals swim, we can set character, set animation, and we can just set it to swim. Another thing we can quickly do as well is, so inside these two states we can, so for land we can say character, set effect, enabled, and we can make sure so we can disable the effect warp object. We can copy and paste this in swim, and then this time we can enable it. Okay, great, let's test this. So we'll head back to this layer, and let's just see. Okay, there we go, awesome. So now there's characters in the swim animation, and you can see it just has a cool little warp animation, just to make it look like you're underwater. Okay, then another little visual thing we could add is we could just add a bubble. So what we can do is we can set a new particle. We will, so just keep your alpha down. So again, create your own assets if you like. I'm just going to very quickly make this, so we'll just get a bubble like that. And then what we can do is, so I want to set the rate to just 1, so it just spawns one bubble. Let's have a look. We'll set the spray cone to 40. I'll set the size to 64, and then we can set the grow rate here to set that to something like 100. And as you can see, the bubble will now just keep increasing until it disappears. So that'll do for now, but obviously you can tweak that and, you know, make it look how you'd like. And so if you head back to your event sheet, we can just quickly say, so system, every X seconds, we'll say, so every 2 seconds, and then we'll just say character, spawn another object. We will then set the bubble we've just created, and we'll just put that on the main layer. And then just make sure the particle's also one shot. And now let's test this. So as you can see, we've got a nice little bubble particle as well. So all these little things, you know, can just really add to it. Make sure this is also just dragged up inside of these overlapping. Okay, so finally, if you want to then add an oxygen timer to your character, we need to go back to our character and we're just going to add another variable. We can keep this a number and we'll just call this oxygen. We'll set the value to 10. And then what we also then need to do is, so we need to just create a new object. Make this like a blue bar of some kind. I'll just do this for now. And then I'll just use this for now. I'll just drag this out like this. And so now what we want to do is we want to set it so that when we overlap the character, so we can add, so what we can do is we can add another action. And we want to system, we want to create another object. Set the oxygen bar. Spawn it on the main. And then we want to set this onto, so character.x. And then we want to also do the y to character.y. And then add -100 on the y. And this will just set the bar slightly above the character's head. So now what we want to do is we just want to make it sure that so the bar just constantly follows the character. To do this, we'll just do system. We'll say every tick. Okay, so what we'll do is just add an action. We'll go oxygen bar. This time we'll just set position. And we'll set again to character.x. And we'll set the y to character.y -100, just like before. We'll to select the oxygen bar again, and this time we'll to also set the width. So in here we can set character.oxygen, and then we can just do ×10. And then inside of the every 2 seconds here, we can just add another action. We can go character, subtract from, oxygen, and we'll just remove 1. Okay, so once you've got this, we then also just want to drag this inside of the is overlapping character. And then we also, inside of the else, we want to set it so that we just want to destroy the oxygen bar. So just oxygen bar, destroy. Oh, and actually, so what we also need to do is we need to just add a trigger once. Drag this under the character. And we can just drag this in here, the create object. Okay, so let's test this. And there we go. So as you can see, you can tweak this and make it look more visually appealing, but as you can see, we've got the health bar. And then when that hits the end, we could also then just set it to destroy the character. So all you'd do is, you could go, we'll say character, compare variable. We'll compare the oxygen. We'll say is equal or less than 0. And all we have to do is we can just call the function endgame. Or if you've not got this far or set that up, you can then just call, you know, player destroy or something like that. And then that's it, guys. So we'll just test this one more time. We enter the water. The health bar will go down. And once it hits the end, we should then get to game over. And there we go. So that's it, guys. I hope that was useful. Hopefully I explained it well enough. And yeah, that's it. So take care and I'll see you in the next one.